Hey everybody, this is your girl Debra Coco, and welcome to the Just Gimme the Mic show. I just want to give a big shout out to everybody, to us, because we're all making it through this COVID-19 real serious situation that who would have ever thought we would have had to deal with this in our lifetime. It's totally mind-boggling. Even though while we're going through it, I'm still feeling like it's a dream, you know. Exactly. But we still got to do what we do to have some sense of normalcy. But again, I just want to say, for those who are still supporting the show and checking it out, and I appreciate you, and thank you so much for doing that. Make sure you check out Just Give Me the Mic on YouTube, and check out some of our previous other shows with some great artists and great guests. And catch us Sunday night at 10 p.m. on BronxNet Channel 68, and in Manhattan on MNN2 at 8 p.m. But today, I'm actually doing an artist spotlight, or producer spotlight. Yeah, producer spotlight. One of the longtime friends of mine who's been in the business, we had a off-camera conversation, and I'm like, you know, maybe you should come on the show and share some of that knowledge and experience that you have for working in the business and with so many great artists for so many years. I would like for you to come and share some of that knowledge. So I'm hoping that y'all take something from this and, you know, use some of these tools in your own life, you know, to be great big artists as yourself. But, you know, join me in welcoming Pop. That's my friend. I call him Pop. Welcome you to the show. Thank you for joining me, especially under this craze. I should have my mask on, but you represent it for us. And you know, the conversation, like I said, this whole interview actually sparked for me going on Instagram and seeing you actually giving some, you know, dropping some jewels about your producing style and some artists and your son and stuff like that. So I was like, you know, come join me. So before we even get into it, because we're going to have a session where we go to the studio and we're going to bring it back down and talk, you know, off camera. So when we go to the studio portion, we'll get more into what you've done and who you worked with. But how did this whole thing start for you? Let's start there.
First of all, I want to really actually start with, like what you said, how you saw me on Instagram, and basically I took it back to my roots. On Instagram, in my crib, I always kept a studio in my crib, you know, and now that we have social media, I was like, wow, a lot of people know I'm in the business, but a lot of people don't know I know how to play. A lot of people don't know I'm actually a musician. I'm actually, you know, they just know Pop, you know, being in the music business and this, that, and the third. So I was like, well, let me show people what I could do. Like, I do this for real. Like, I've been doing it since I was like 8 years old. And it started, you know, I was, my father gave me piano lessons at 8. And after that, he put me in his band. And, you know, he had a local band in the Bronx that would play at all the different spots, Club 371, the Boston Road Ballroom and stuff like that. His band would play, and I would play in his band, and at a very early age. And, you know, that kind of gave me the itch, you know. And you know, my father, he played, he was session drummers for Kool and the Gang, GQ. He did a couple things. He did a lot of work with Wilson Pickett. That was his guy. And
I used to remember my parents playing Wilson Pickett a lot.
He traveled with Wilson Pickett, and he played with Roy C. and the Honey Drippers, Impeach the President. He played with his band. Actually, I did a couple shows with Roy C. With my father. My father was his band.
Okay.
He would tour. And, you know,
so little you used to be out on the road playing with the big dogs, so to speak. Okay.
I didn't know. I was just having fun. I could stay up late.
Then I have to go to bed at 6, 7 o'clock.
I was up with my pop. So, you know, I used to go to these rehearsals over at this place called the Smokestack on 163rd and 3rd Avenue, and I would, you know, his band would practice, and I would just, you know, school night, I would be sleep on the floor. So music was just running all through my veins. You know?
You was born into it, so to speak, you know.
But I didn't take to it. I took to it at the time, but I was more into sports. I was more into playing baseball and when I went to college, and I turned like 18, 19 years old. That's when I had to figure out, you know, what am I going to do with my life?
How am I going to eat every day? What am I, you know?
Like I always say, you know, one thing my pops did was he exposed me to a lot of different things in life, you know, different opportunities. There was so much going on at the time. Well, tried
to keep you occupied probably and off the streets, you know, definitely. Make sure you was busy.
Yeah, he led by example.
And
he would get up and go to work every day. Then at night he would play in his band.
You know, nice.
And he kept me with him everywhere he went. So when it was time for me to decide what I wanted to do with my life, I looked back, and like I said, I saw a guy Actually, I saw a guy. Seen a guy, Teddy Riley, and Teddy. What I realized was, we used to all play in bands up on University Avenue. It was a public school. We all the bands. Teddy was in a group, I think, with Keith Sweat and Jackie McGee. I forgot, and my man Larry Peoples. A group called Jamila, and everybody used to practice at this public school on University Avenue. I'm really young.
Okay.
But I remember seeing Teddy. Now, I had to be about like 12. Teddy got me about a couple of years, and I remember seeing him, and really didn't know who he was. And then until fast forward to years later, I'm in college and I see this guy down at Virginia State, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do in my life. I'm like, yo, that's it. Yo, I know how to.
Teddy.
Yeah, I know how to play the keys. Like, this dude is getting money. He's looking fly. He's looking.
So he inspired you.
Yeah, totally.
That's
like,
awesome.
He was outside of my pops. He was the guy that inspired me. Like, you know, because he lived actually down the block from me on 7th Avenue and 129th Street in St. Nick Projects. I grew up on 131st and Madison Avenue.
Okay.
Which is a 5-minute walk, and this guy was he was the biggest cat on the planet.
Especially when
and at
he
that
first
time,
came out,
he was looking like one of the cats that was hustling. Like, you know, everybody back then in 88, 89, you wanted to be fresh, you wanted to be fly, you wanted, you know, only way we know how to get it was
fast money in the street, right?
Yeah, but my parents I couldn't really go home to my parents talking that, so I had to figure out another way.
Right,
I want to be fresh. I gotta.
You gotta earn it some type of way, legit, not doing that street money.
He definitely. I know I'm not the only guy to say this about Teddy, but he inspired a lot of.
But that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
And a lot of people was able to pivot into another direction where you see everybody where they are right now. Like, everybody, it was not only basketball anymore.
Right.
Take about the hood down, you know.
Because that was also another source, right? Kids would get into sports hoping they would make it, right? And you mainly going through every day trying not to get tripped up by what's going on around you. That was the main thing. Survival and not getting caught up and none of that other kind of stuff. So this kind of led into you. I want to be a producer. I want to do something with this musical knowledge that you may not have said producer, but you knew that you wanted to do something.
I wanted to do something. Because most everybody started out as an artist. So we started out in a group and actually played. So then you see guys, you see Jodeci, you see the producer in the group. Right. So that sparks your fire even more. And then you start to see the spotlight was on the producer. The songwriter, the producer, and I was like, So was
you caught up by the fame a little bit of the
tension,
the kind of, right?
Yeah, of course,
because I'm like, a lot of people, some people think about that. They
I'm from Harlem, like, we want to be seen.
I didn't want to say it. That's why I was getting a little tongue tied. I didn't want to say it, but is that really how it was in Harlem? Like, you gotta have money. Like, every time I went to Harlem, it was the cars, people fresh to death, everything matching from head to. It's a lifestyle, right?
Like, and that's the whole thing. Like, everybody wanted that lifestyle, but couldn't really figure out how to actually get that lifestyle without sacrificing your life.
Right. Because the music industry was still kind of opening up a little bit, right?
It wasn't as cool yet.
One of your first options that you would think about, like, I want to do music when I get older. Right. It's like if you had the gift, if you grew up in church, or something like that.
It wasn't the first option.
But you wouldn't even think, let me buy my kids instruments so they could do a band. That's not.
I'm not gonna say for what we come up at. I'm not gonna speak for everybody. I'm not gonna say
but for some did, if they had that musical background themselves, right?
I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but it definitely, it was definitely to see a kid come from our neighborhood and be so successful, and if you really want to do something with your life, that was the inspiration for me.
Yeah, shout out to Teddy Riley for that, because he inspired a lot of people outside of the neighborhood, just to do music. And we're going to talk about Andre Harrell. We're going to get into your producing and things like that. But it's interesting how that led you to different directions. But the main thing that you talked about too, no matter what you do in this business, one of the main things is relationships, right?
Totally.
Is the relationships that you built along your journey.
Right, exactly.
So we're going to go upstairs to the studio, right? And we're going to go over, talk about a little producer stuff, then we're going to come back down and get into what you're doing, your latest ventures that you got into, okay? So we'll be right back, y'all. Don't go nowhere.
Nothing like a Saturday, y'all. Quite like a Saturday.
So let's start off this piece talking about your relationship with Andre Harrell. Like, how did you meet?
I met Andre Harrell Man, it was many years ago. First of all, Andre Harrell's the song that he did, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde's record that he did back in 1983, I believe. I didn't really know it was Andre, and I heard the record. I had a curfew, so it used to be jams across the street from my house, and all the cats would, everybody would come out. My mother would have me come upstairs. I couldn't go to the jam, and I remember this one particular Friday night, Dougie Fresh and Barry B and all of them was out there jamming, and my mother told me to come upstairs, and I didn't want to look out the window and watch everybody, so I closed the window, and Mr. Magic was on, and Mr. Magic was playing. I heard something about a shark swimming in the ocean, and it just captivated me. Like, this is actually before. When I really go back and think about it, is before, like, the record The Show by Dougie Fresh really had impact on me. Okay. Musically. Okay. But then I thought about it, that record that Jekyll and Hyde did, when I found out was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that was the one that really stuck out in my mind, and it was something about it. It was something at the time, you could hear the change in rap at the time. And I didn't know there was Andre Harrell. I didn't know who Andre Harrell was. Alonzo, I didn't know who these guys were. I didn't know what they looked like.
Before Diddy, right?
This is way before. This is like
before Diddy came out.
This is like 83.
Okay.
Like I was like a freshman, junior in high school. Still had a curfew. I was that kid. I had a curfew. I had to go upstairs.
Boy, yes. Yeah. Okay.
So that was the first time I heard Andre, and then years later, I wound up meeting Puff and everybody. But one day, my partner and I ran into Puffy's mom's. I didn't know what he did. And she called Sean up and like, hey, come down to, I'm up here with Michael. Come down to, why don't you need to go meet Sean. He works at Uptown Records. Now, Michael hadn't seen Sean for like 10 years, So we wind up going down to 1755 Broadway. Now, mind you, before that, my little crew, we would walk from 125th Street down to 57th Street every day.
So you was originally from Harlem?
Yeah, I'm from Harlem and the Bronx, 50-50. Okay. My mom's is from Harlem, my father's from the Bronx, so I'm 50-50. But my studio I had was in my crib at my mom's house. So my crew, we would try to figure out how to get in the business. So we would just walk down. We would walk from 125th Street to 57th Street every day, trying to get into these record company buildings. Wow. And one day, like I said, we bumped into, wound up meeting Sean's mother, and she was like, yo, come down. She gave us his card, and we looked at the address. And the address was like 1755 Broadway. We was like, oh, we been trying to get into
downtown.
This is where the building we were trying to get into.
Wow.
So we went. This is where Puffy was interning. He had Father MC at the time. We went to his office, and after that, we was in the building. And then we would just go up to Uptown Records. Uptown Records at the time was college for us. Okay. I was like 19 years old. This is like 1989, 90. Right. It was like I left school. My partner left school, and we would just, we were just on our grind. And we went down.
You already knew, from young, this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to be in the music.
Well, my father started me off in music at 8, 9 years old. I didn't really know that's what I wanted to do. Right. But what I realized what he did with me was he gave me a variety of options. Like, he was a drummer himself. But he put me in baseball. He had me boxing. He gave me piano lessons. Okay. He was in the band, so I traveled around with him in the bands in the Bronx and stuff like that. Nice. So he gave me like a scope of things. Like, you could go to college. I went to college, and when I turned 18, 19, I realized that I had to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and I had the skill. And I started to see that, people with the skill that I had were starting to be successful. And, at that time, I always tell everybody at that time, it was like, you was either hustling or hustling. Right. You know what I'm saying? You didn't really see.
In the street?
You were in the street, yeah, exactly.
Or, like you said, at that time, we started seeing videos. We started seeing more artists.
Right.
And we're like, we started hearing different styles of music, right? Right. From that Melly Mel generation and all that. Then we started seeing an explosion.
Then it came from
like you said.
Right, so. So at Mr. Hyde, right. So at that time, I started noticing a guy by the name of Teddy Riley. And I started seeing that he had this thing. He was looking like the kids that was hustling, but he was making money making music. And I said, well, I got that skill. I want to look fly. Right. I'm from Harlem. We want to be fly.
All the time.
So,
right?
We were like, I figured it out. I said, this is what I want to do. I left school, came home. I bumped into my boy Mike Harrison, wanted to call him Vo. We went to high school, went to Rice High School together in Harlem. Okay. So we met in high school, and We met on the train. We bumped into each other on the train after, we was like, yo, I was like, you still doing music? Because at the time, when we was in high school, he was singing with Teddy Riley.
Oh, he was?
Very early, very, very early. He was singing with Ted and another cat by the name of Dom Trinier,
okay.
who wound up finding D'Angelo and Maxwell and these cats, Mark Ronson. Dom went to high school. So we all went to high school, and they were singing. And my man Tyke, they were singing. And
that was something new, because most of the time you see guys rapping, beatboxing in the cafeteria.
Yeah, they were singing. So, I was watching, I was playing baseball in high school. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't even thinking about it. At that point, I was traveling. In my early years of music, I was traveling with my father with his band, and he was playing with different groups, Cool and Gang, GQ. They was playing drums. He was just a session drummer for a lot of people, Nice. And he would always have me with him. And, I would he also played drums for a cat named Roy C., who made the record Impeach the President, which is probably the most sampled hip-hop record. Everybody. Right. Yeah, so I actually played in that band with Roy C. Wow. Roy C. and the Honey Drippers. Okay. So I played in that band. I was like 11 years old.
I was about to say, you had to be still a band.
Yeah, I was playing in these clubs. I was playing in Club 371 where Hollywood was the DJ. My father's band was the house band. And I was exposed to this life early. Right. But I was like, still in development. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do music or baseball. I was in sports.
Still playing sports.
So when I got to high school, when I got out of high school, I said, I had to figure out what it was I was going to do. Baseball wasn't it. And I had every kind of job you could name, from messenger to security guard worked in ice cream and Haagen-Dazs. So I was like, nah, that's not really the right way.
You love money.
Right.
You knew you loved
I wanted to get fresh.
And all of that. So now let's go back to the Teddy Riley piece. You ran into Teddy Riley. You said his partner Harrison. My boy Mike Harrison. He and Teddy. They was in Teddy was producing them. Okay. This is like when they was all at Rooftop together. Okay. So I bumped into Mike after college. Said, Mike, you still singing? Mike was like, yeah. I said, yo. So I went over to his crib. I didn't have a keyboard or anything. So I was trying to buy a keyboard. I would go to Sam Ash every day, look in the window, and try to play a keyboard in Sam Ash. I went over to his crib. He had a keyboard in his crib. I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. I found my partner, and after that, the first thing he and I did was, we met a guy by the name of William Allen, who told us the first thing we need to do is set up our publishing company. Right. That was the very first thing we did. How important is that? You started
very important.
Right in the gate. You learned about the business side.
Right. I was, we were students, man. We had great education coming up, so we understood how to be students. So the first thing we understood to be students, and what Will did was he showed us the beginning parts of the game. We was like, we took us down to Leotis Clybourne. That was at ASCAP. Okay. And he registered us, and we registered our publishing, 141131 Music, which we still have today. We still catalog. Our catalog is vast. We've done a lot of stuff through there. Okay. But that was the first thing we learned. And then I sat in the house for like about 2 years at my mother's house, about 2-3 years, just making what they call beats now, but just making music. Okay. Before I actually came out and let anybody know what we were really doing.
Now let's talk about some of the groups that you've worked with, because your background, you work with a lot of different artists that people only wished, they got a chance to work with or only seen in videos. So let's run down some of the people who you've actually worked with throughout your career. Right. Well, you started off with, you said the publishing. Now, what happened at Atlantic Records? Who was you working with there?
Atlantic Records, a lady by the name of Debra Tate. She's the one that I would really, really give it to, like, as far as putting me in the game. Okay. She was, at the time, she was the general manager of Biv 10 Records that had Boys II Men and ABC and, MC Brain. She was the general manager for Michael Bivins. Right. So when we met Debra introduced us to a guy by the name of Londell McMillan. Attorney, like, he represents everybody today. So when she introduced us to Londell, from that point on, we were educated about the game. Right. So at Atlantic Records, we did a record for a girl named Debra Morgan. Debra was managing her. Timmy Regisford was the A&R at the time. He left Motown and went over to Atlantic Records. Okay. And we did a song called Take It Easy along with a young lady by the name of Alvon Jackson and her partner Lenny. Okay. So we co-produced that record. So that was our actual first professional production. We co-produced it. Alvon wrote the song. Basically, she did the whole song, and we were the ones. We went and shopped the song and got the song placed. So we negotiated with her. We got a co-production, and we took that co-production and we took that 20% that we got of publishing, and my boy and I, we hustled that, and I parlayed us into a publishing deal.
See, that's what's
and parlayed us, that 20% parlayed us into a publishing deal, and at that point we was in the game.
And about how this like your early 20s?
Yeah, this is like 93. It's like 90, 92, 93.
That's yes. Still young.
Yeah, we still young. We like 22, 23 at the time.
Right, fresh in the game already. Got your got some publishing credits.
Right,
making some money off that.
Right, we got our first budget. You know, yeah, and that's what it was at the time. Like you would get a budget, and that's what I learned early. Like you get a budget, and what you actually we ate off of whatever was left over from the budget.
Okay.
So if we got $25,000 to spend, we got to mix the record, master the record, record the record. You know what I'm saying? So whatever. Back then you had to buy 2-inch reels.
You did.
That was like $200 a piece. So you had to. It's different today because it's all digital. So you're not paying for no reels.
You don't get that today, right? Do you get a budget today?
I mean,
it's budgets.
I mean, it depends on most artists today. Like your artists today, they have everything in house. They'll pay you to come in and do something. Rarely unless you're doing a big production.
Okay.
You'll get a budget. Not that I know of. You know what I'm saying? Now, really, we do a song, we submit the song, and if they like it, they'll come in, they'll do it, and then they already got their studios and stuff. So we don't, unless I'm doing a project myself and I get the budget and I bring an artist in to do it. It's different. It's totally different than it was back then.
Right.
Back then, you would get a budget, and say at the time, if an artist or a record company would pay you $5,000, you straight up to do it, and they would cover the studio, the $5,000 was yours. But if you got an all in budget, which is, they give you $30,000. Like you would hear like people like Timberland and these cats would get like $150,000. That covers the studio. So that's how big you got to take care of everything out of that. Right. So it was that kind of game. It's totally different now.
Wow.
So we at that time my man and I was getting like anywhere between like $25,000 and $30,000 a song.
That's good.
It was and we learned how to, out of that $25,000, $30,000, we would pay ourselves. So
pay yourself your salary.
Yeah, you would pay ourselves out of that. So we had to mix, master, deliver the record. You get half the money up front, half on the back end. The back end was always the longest to get.
Right.
They give you that money up front, but that second half of the song.
Prove everything.
Everything at that. And we had to understand that.
Okay.
Corporately.
Right, corporately. That's what it is. They have to like.
Yeah.
Money.
Exactly.
So what do you think happened that changed that whole game around? Why companies are not off? I know, but I want you to explain it. Why do you think companies no longer offer deals, no longer offer budgets?
I mean, the companies got smart.
Right.
They realized that, because people were raping budgets, what we call raping budgets. Like people was getting like production deals, production situations, and for millions of dollars. And then, at that time, before the housing crisis hit in 2000, you could go get a loan for 0% down. It was no different in the music business.
Oh.
People would give you money straight up front without
thinking that
you had to hit record. Right, exactly. You could gas somebody with a half hit record on the radio and walk into a record company at that time and get.
So that's why they changed it. That it not only depends on your talent, but it also depends on how many hits you got on the social media.
Right.
They really need to see.
Right. You can't really front now.
Right. Okay.
Back then you could front. Back then you could really front. Until.
But you couldn't just log on digitally.
Right, and see that. If you heard the record, if you heard your record play 2-3 times on BLS or whatever was playing, you would automatically assume somebody was making you big time.
Right.
And they was really selling because you really could, unless you was actually inside the record company, you couldn't really break down how much your portion of the record was.
Right, a couple of pennies.
Right, exactly.
Literally, I'm saying a couple of pennies. Literally on
literally,
that. We found out about that watching New Edition Story and everybody else.
Right.
They wasn't getting nothing off that.
Right. It's also about how you. That's what I told you. Londell McMillan was my lawyer, so we learned from the gate how to negotiate. I don't have anything to say bad about anything I did in the music business. Anything I did, I was conscious of what I was doing because I was educated well in the business. I read. I tell my son all the time, you got to read. You got to read what publishing is about. Understand what you're doing.
But that's true.
Right.
So what do you recommend to somebody who doesn't have access to a lawyer, that can't get that knowledge?
Well, today it's so much information online today. Back then we wasn't privy to that information unless you was really, really inside. Today, before people had to come to New York to make it. Now you don't have to come to New York to make it.
True.
You go online and you have to be. You don't even have to be that savvy. Google whatever it is you're thinking about, and it'll come up today. It's not hard.
Yeah, that's one thing that artists need to take the time out to do. Everybody just want to come out and hit fame.
Right.
That's all they care about.
Right.
Are their numbers going up? People purchasing their stuff on these different platforms, or whatever, paying
Right.
$1.99. But again, once you get that money, how do you make it bigger? How do you
sustain?
reinvest
How do you
it and
right?
keep it
Exactly.
growing, you know?
And that's the thing that in my career that where I ran into a wall at.
Okay.
Because when you first start getting money, and you come from I had a basic upbringing. I wasn't poor.
Right.
Dirt poor, I was still in the hood, but I didn't want for anything. My parents made sure I was good. My man kind of the same way, Vo the same way. We had a decent education, but when you first start making your own money,
right,
and you first getting your first $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 check, you don't know like you don't understand with that when you sit there looking at that. You just 2 days ago you just had $5 to get downtown. We was just walking downtown on 125th Street.
Right.
Now we got a $30,000 check. So now looking at what's going on in the street, you want everything that's going on in the street.
Right.
We didn't understand. Right.
You're young. You want to get fly.
We didn't understand to reinvest and how to reinvest. We opened up an account. We did what we knew how to do at the time, but. Right. The knowledge that we that's there today for kids, like I'm watching these kids, and I think these kids are really really smart. And I think a lot of them, you may look at them and see them buying a lot of jewelry and stuff. It's for show, but you really sit down and talk to these kids. These kids are really really smart.
Some of them are investing.
They are investing. Yeah, they are investing.
Some of them have learned from some of the artists before
right, exactly.
them who have failed, and they are taking heed to some of it to the best that they know how.
Right,
as long as they have somebody that's constantly guiding them, they can be okay. You know. So let's go on to Zane and Naughty by Nature, and let's hit that part of it. Because you work with quite a few people.
Okay, yeah. Let me go back to Andre Harrell real quick.
Oh, okay, got it.
Andre. So, like I said, Andre. Like I said, when I would go up to Uptown, it was like college. Mm-hmm. Andre let any kid, if you had any kind of dream or aspiration, we would stand in front of the building, and once you got in the building, it was like college. You learned everything. I mean, the A&Rs. Puffy, Tim Dog, James Earl Jones Jr., George Harrell, Jimmy Jenkins, the whole crew.
Wow.
Everybody was up there, and it was just open. It was an open door situation. So, my first real business interaction with Andre was we did a record for Horace Brown called "One for the Money."
One for the money.
Right. We did that record. Kevin Dean and my producer in my camp named Bacardi. Mm-hmm. Okay. We did that record with Horace, and it was on Uptown Records.
Right.
So when Andre left Uptown and became president of Motown, he took Horace Brown's project with him over to Motown. So the record wound up coming out was the first record that came out on Motown under Andre being the president of Motown. That was the first record from Uptown to Motown.
Okay.
He had the big campaign with him sitting in the chair and turning around. Then he put Horace Brown in there. So that was the first record that came out.
And that was a hot track. Too.
Right. That was that, and I think that's a gold album. And then my second experience with Andre was when I was right on Motown when I was doing Zane. So this is Zane's second album because the first time I was on with KG, Listen to the Vibe, I was a musician on that album.
Oh, you was?
Yeah, I listened to the Vibe. I played keyboards on that, and and we hustled that. We turned that into. You thought that the way we had to wear. Yeah, I'm from Harlem. We make $100 like 100,000. That's what we do.
Right. That's how you're supposed to do
it.
Right.
So Saturday night, we did the song Saturday Night, and I remember vividly, Londell.
That was like one of their first hits, right?
No, that was the second album. This is the title track of their second album.
The second one.
Second album featuring the Lox. The Lox was this was basically introducing the Lox almost. It was like their first actual coming out party, but they was out. They had a couple songs with Biggie, but Londell brought them to the studio one day. He was like, "Yo, Pop, you got to put them on the record." Londell represented all of us.
Okay.
Londell represented me, Vo, Zane, and the Lox at the time.
So In Vogue was down too?
No, Vo, my partner Vo.
Oh, yeah, partner Vo. Okay.
His name is Vo. So, Londell represented everybody, so he brought the Lox to the studio when I was doing Saturday Night. He said, "Yo, you got these kids from Yonkers." I'm like, "Yo, I already had somebody in mind." I was working with Rex and Effect at the time. I already had them in mind to get on the song. And Londell was like, "Nah, yo, try these kids right here. These young dudes."
You thinking Harlem?
Yeah, exactly. You already know what it is. Right. And they just came up with double platinum record with Rum Shaker.
Oh yeah.
So so I'm like, it's a party record.
Right.
They came in the studio and it was Cash Delivered. The first time I heard Jada Kid's voice and Styles and Chic, and I was like, wow, I ran uptown and let my friends hear it. And they was like, yo, who these guys? I was like, yo. Next thing you know, they shot off. So now when I finished the record, Londell comes to the studio. And Londell takes me up to Andre's office in Motown. So we go up, we get up there. I throw it back to his cassette tape. I throw the cassette tape in. I'm standing there. Andre started going, oh my God. You know, if you know Andre Harrell, oh my God, buddy, this is Chic meets. Oh my, Chic meets Jeanne. Oh my God, this is he started doing his, you know, and it was like I'm thinking about it. And it was like yesterday, because if you know Andre Harrell, that's how bubbly he was. That's the kind of the character that he would you know, he would leave with you. When I walked out his office, I felt like $1 million.
Wow. You
know what I'm saying? And he was just like, and that was my most fond memory of dealing with Andre. And I got a check. I got a couple checks with him. So, you know, much respect to Andre.
Right,
you know,
much respect to him. Rest in peace. That was so surprising.
Yeah.
Right, just out of the blue. Like sometimes you forget about people because you don't hear their name in a while. They might be out of the light.
But I was actually still on the topic of Dre. I was actually about to. What I'm working on right now is the Rooftop documentary. Mm-hmm. That's when Andre actually, Uptown Records spun from Rooftop to Uptown. Right. It was Gusto, Greg Marius, who owned ran Rucker, Teddy Riley, and Andre Harrell.
Oh, I didn't
and
know
LaVega.
Okay,
that was Uptown Productions, and Andre Harrell basically took the blueprint of that
they was doing there
and Rooftop.
That to Uptown?
And that's how Teddy Riley and all of them and Teddy Guy became with with Andre over at Uptown, and it came from that whole. So actually, I'm doing right now what I'm doing presently. I'm working on the Rooftop documentary, and that came to our mind because Andre was doing the Uptown miniseries, and I was like, I went to my right now before he's working on that right now, the Uptown Records miniseries. So my partner and I was like, yo, we got to tell the Rooftop story because my partner was part of Andre and them when they was at Rooftop. Right, that's where with Mo D, Cool Mo D, and Brucey B and everybody. That was Brucey's gonna be a part of the Rooftop documentary because that was basically his sound. But he was breaking records. He was the DJ that was breaking records.
Sure was
at that time.
Sure was. So, wow. Okay, so that's interesting. We got to look out for that.
Yeah,
that's
gonna be dope. On. Yeah.
All right. So then your team. Okay, you talked about Andre Harrell. So how do you make it to Wu-Tang Clan? Like, how did that whole connection come about?
Wu-Tang Clan. My Raekwon actually. Once again, one of my childhood friends. He was in the street and things happened. One day, I thought my friend was dead. And one day we driving down the West Side Highway and listening to the radio. I hear his voice, and I'm like, "Yo, that's Chip." I'm talking to my partner. We working on another project. I'm like, "Yo, that's Chip."
Right.
We thought my man was dead. So I was kind of tight. I was like, "Yo, you mean to tell me Chip got down with the Wu-Tang Clan and he ain't call us?" Because I did all his music from day one.
Like, what's up?
Yeah, I'm like, he ain't call me.
Right.
2 days later, one of my boys bumped into him on her 25th. He said, "Y'all need to get in touch with Pop." So when we got up with each other. He's like, "Yo, I got up with Raekwon. I'm in his crew called American Cream Team, which is Raekwon's. It's his crew, his clique. There's a couple Uptown cats."
Before Wu-Tang?
No, this is Wu-Tang. This is 1999.
Oh, okay.
This is 1999. Wu-Tang got popped early 93. So this is Raekwon now. This is 99. Matter of fact, this is 98. 98 going into 99. Okay. So Raekwon was actually starting to work on his second album. So when Chip, he called me, he said, "Yo, I'm with Power, who's the founder. He's the original founding member and executive producer of the Wu-Tang Clan with RZA. Power, he played in Belly, and Raekwon, he introduced me to them, and then Ray was like, "Yo, I'm working on my album," and he heard my music. He's like, "Yo, let's go to LA," and they rented a house out in LA, and we was out in Los Angeles for like 3 months, and we recorded the album, and we worked on a movie called Black and White. So these budgets were big. Wow. Ray had a budget for like $2 million, and the Black and White project was like $1 million. So we were shooting a movie, and I was scoring the movie at the same time. Wow. And so it was like I was with the Wu-Tang Clan hard. You know what I'm saying? I was with all the different Ghostface. I think I just came home, and I wound up meeting Ghost, and a couple of Inspector Deck. I wound up meeting all these different cats that was with them, and I produced 4 songs on Raekwon's album, Mobilary. Sold 2 million records to this day. Oh. It's double platinum. So that's how I wound up. That's how I met.
Well, we've been friends for a while. Every time I see you be like, "I'm flying here, I'm flying there, I'm flying here." I mean, you was definitely on the move. I think at the time that I met you was actually working with Jeanne.
Right, that was 96.
Right.
And it was Boston Ballroom days.
Right.
That was the ballroom days.
Got some history.
Yeah.
How did you feel? Did you see the new Wu-Tang movie, the biography that they just had? What did you feel?
You know what? I caught pieces of it. Actually, the pieces of it that I did see was stuff that Power. It was basically him telling the story, and Power had already told me the story. Okay. So the pieces I saw, like I kind of
true to the story.
Yeah. It was kind of true. It was kind of true, and it was kind of fictional, and in certain places to get, keep the theatrics of it. But a lot of it, I think, from what Power told me, it looked like it was kind of true. It was like,
true?
Yeah,
well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That it kind of worked along that way.
Yeah.
Now, before we change the channel and talk about something else, I want to get into your style as a producer because you work.
Oh, we got one more thing. We got to talk about Prince.
Oh, excuse me. That's right. Backtrack. Go to Prince.
Yeah, we got to talk about Prince.
You got to. That's major.
Yeah, that was and that was like the highlight of my career, like being picked up. My partner and I, like I told you, we understood publishing very early because Londell taught us. So we got that 20% off that song, "Take It Easy." We took that 20%, and it was enough for us to go negotiate a publishing deal with Paisley Park Music.
Okay.
And how we got that was because.
What made you think about going to Paisley Park?
I'm gonna tell you.
All right.
So how we get to Paisley Park is, we have the 20%, right? Now, I go pitch a song to this A&R cat for Moni Love named Peter Edge. Peter Edge is right now is the president of BMG right now.
Okay.
Peter Edge, right to this day. At that time, he's A&R for Warner Brothers since 1993. I go pitch a song to him for Moni Love, right? So he takes the song. I think he gives us the first half of the money, right? Then he calls us back. He's an English guy. He's from London.
Right.
He calls us back and say, "Hey, Warner Brothers dropped Moni Love." So he was disappointed. Like, he was really disappointed. He was like, "Yo, but I want to keep my word with you." He said, "I want to keep my word with you. This is the kind of guy I'm going to introduce you to Cat Jackson, who's the publisher over at Paisley Park Music."
Oh, wow.
So
look how that opened up, right?
Right. So he introduced us to Cat Jackson. Now, at the time, we had a couple other publishing companies after us. We had Almar Irvin, which is Karen Durant. What's her name? Jocelyn Cooper, who had it was Midnight Music, that had the Tonys and D'Angelo.
Okay.
And who they had the Tonys, and Brian McKnight was signed there. So we had a couple people after us. But when she came to us and said Paisley Park, we was like, I don't care what it is. Like, yo, I don't care how much money they offering us over here. We going with Prince because the long haul wasn't that we was till this day we associated with Paisley Park Music. We was only signed to it for 8 months because
that's connected to your company.
Yeah, my publishing company, 141. So we wind up. We traveled around different places with Prince, and he's opening up clubs, Grand Slam clubs, and this, that, and the third. We was only signed to him for maybe like 7-8 months because at that time he was moving around with slave on his face.
Okay.
And we kind of didn't really understand what was going on at the time.
And he was making that statement.
He was making that statement about him being a slave to Warner Brothers. He had the money that he was making at the time was a contract that he signed back in 1979. So he was making the equivalent after Purple Rain and after all these mega hit records. He was still making. He wasn't broke, but he was still getting the same. Usually, when you start selling records, your points jump up.
Right.
They bump up.
Right.
When you're a beginning artist, he starts you here. But he was still getting. So he asked us. This is very important. He asked us about my lawyer. I have a black lawyer, Londell McMillan. So he said, "Yo, would it be okay if my lawyer looked over his contract?" So me and my man, this the only thing in my career I tell everybody that Londell, I hope you see this because that I wasn't on point with, right? We was making so much money that he was like, yeah, look, we didn't think about it. Knowing better now in hindsight, Londell looked over his contract. Londell wound up negotiating him out of his Warner Brothers contract.
Oh, he did.
And helped him get a deal with EMI for $100 million.
What?
So saying that, you figure because you make the introduction, right?
You get a little cut.
Yeah, but if you ain't negotiate that,
right.
So like I said, I don't.
Who would have had a house on the hill right now? Who would have?
I still got my relationship with my homeboy. My man owns the Source magazine. Like that's my guy. But that was just like we was moving and we was making money in the music business, and I wasn't that smart yet to know like the business man I am today. Like if I do something, I'll make sure like. I get a piece of it. We was just like, go ahead, talk to him, do what you gotta do. Next thing I know,
But something we talked about off camera was relationships, right?
Totally.
So sometimes you think this is my man, this is my partner, let me just do this solid, let me do this favor. Not even like you said, looking at the big picture.
Right.
You just in it, you happy to be where you at. And you like, yo, if I can help you, I'm gonna help you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. He asked us, he's like, yo, what you think? He's like, yo, man, go do what you gonna do with Prince. Then next thing I know, I'm reading Billboard.
What?
And we see like
he done switched from here to EMI.
He done with the EMI got $100 million. He's like, yo,
somebody got a check.
Oh, Londell. Then Londell became 50-50 business partners with Prince after that.
And where was you?
Making music.
You should have been with Londell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Split that 33, 33, 33. You know what I'm saying?
That's the only piece of my career that I was like, and I'm not even mad at that.
No.
I'm not bitter with that at all. Because,
but it's something that you think about.
I always think about it. I always move with that afterwards because, like, if you sharp, stuff like that won't get by you.
Right.
If you sharp.
Well, that's a lesson. Lesson learned. And you drop some jewels for the people who's watching that. You know, you got to be careful.
If you're not sharp, I get tissue.
Your mind got to be right on those opportunities, you know? So let's start off talking about your style of producing. What do you look for if you have an artist and you're trying to find the right sound for them? What is your technique? What is your process?
Well, the first thing I look for is how well they can write. You know, and that works. You know, if they can write well, then they can create their own. I'm able to help them paint their picture.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? As a producer.
So you look at their style and you kind of pull off that and see where you can go with it?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And I see what I could do exactly to bring out the best in them. You know, and I learned that watching Quincy Jones, watching Ted, watching L.A. and Babyface, studying Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and all these guys that are masters at production. Not only do they play, you know, they could play, which I could play, but they're technicians behind the board. Like their technical skills is superb. Right. And you know that's part of production. That's a main part of producing. Like, you know, they have the ear, you know, and just being in tune with the artist. Right, you know, whoever that might be. So I love great writers. And people
so they come to you with the music written out.
Well, they come with me with their game tight. Okay. They come to me and when they know what to do when they walk in the booth. You know, when you work with people, you want people that it's like anything else. You hire somebody for a job. You know, you want them to have some experience. Right, that's true. You know what I'm saying? So at a certain point in my career, it was like, yo, if you wasn't ready, like, you know, I'd be like, yo, you got to go get ready, come back next year. Yeah, whatever. Next week, like, get ready. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because when you walk to Timberland and these cats, that's exactly what they're looking for. They look, yo, you know how to stack your harmonies. You know how to track your vocals. And that's what producers respect. They respect people that know their way around the studio. So the knowledge of it is something that you look for on top of the lyricism and the artistry. So you get some artists that don't know anything about music, but they just got it. You see it. Yeah, they got what we call the it factor. Right. Some artists just have the it factor. They just got it, and that you could teach that. You could take that and do what you want to do with it. You know what I'm saying? They're already a star. Right. All they need is a Quincy Jones or whoever around them to bring that star out of them. Okay. You know, so it's a lot of different things. You know, you look forward to. I don't stick to one thing because everybody's different. Everybody's bringing something different. Okay. So, you know, yeah. That's a very good point. Now, how hard is it to build that kind of trust with an artist? Like, do you find an artist is sensitive when you critique and try to change certain things about them? Like, how do you handle those kind of situations? Listen, because they got egos. Artists today have egos. You know? Artists always had egos. Always? Today, yesterday. Okay. You talk to Marvin Gaye. Talk to these. Every artist. I'm a producer. I'm an artist. Right. First of all, you're supposed to feel yourself, right? Right. You're supposed to have some type of confidence in your skills, right? Yeah. So I take that ego. I'm saying ego like a bad thing, but it's not. It's definitely not. What they do is most artists, they protect their babies. Their songs are their babies. Right. And sometimes you have to talk them out of doing things that it's not good for themselves. Like, you know, okay, so I always, like, I'm teaching my son right now. So, and what I'm teaching him is like, yo, you try everything. If a producer asks you to try this, try it. If it don't work, then it don't work. Right. So once you see how it feels. Right, see how it feels. Right. Because sometimes you have something stuck in your head and you'll be like, nah, I don't want to do that, because you think, then when you go try, you're like, oh, you know, that worked. That worked. Right. Or it didn't work. Right. So you know, it's tape. You can always cut it. At this point right here, it's no more tape, but you can delete it that quick. It's nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I look for, you know, it's hard with artists, especially when they try to change, yo, I need you to change that lyric right there. Nah, I wrote it like this. Oh, it means da-da-da-da-da. That's what it means to me. Like, go, listen. So do you normally sway with the artist with that, or do you hold firm as to this is what I want? I'm kind of firm for what I want. Sometimes you get into arguments with artists, and I remember. Let me tell you something real quick story. I was doing a song for this kid on Quincy Jones' label, right? And Quincy was like, the name of the song was called Sex Shooter. We produced the whole record. We did the whole record. So went and played it for Quincy and his in Quest Records team. They was like, no, that's not it. Change that from Sex Shooter. We argued them down. Well, Quincy Jones he named Thriller for a reason and didn't name it Killer. You know what I'm saying? Right. So we wound up changing the song from Sexual to the Heartbreaker. So because as artists, you're stuck into. Yeah, we had this whole.
But it's not marketed. Like some things are not marketed. They can't see that.
You can't
piece
see
of
it.
You know what I'm saying?
So I was in that same shoe, and it had to change real quick. So I know what it is. Like these are your babies. So you kind of.
Right, Yeah,
you want to stick to it. Trying to stick.
So you got to kind of muscle with your experience. Like, look, I know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to
Quincy Jones
with
is
that.
like, you listening to Quincy Jones, like Quincy.
You're not going to go back and forth with that man. No, you're not.
I tried to.
You did?
Oh, yeah, I tried to.
Because they do call you the young Quincy, right? Where you get that from? Where you get that name from?
My friends was around, when I was working with my boy Mike Frito.
Uh-huh.
And he was signed to Quest Records. They started calling him Young Quincy.
Young Quincy.
That's exactly
Stuck
what it was.
to the
right
guns.
There.
So what is the one thing that you look for that you feel makes a song solid? Like, is there a particular thing like that you listen out for when you working with what?
It's really hard. I tell people all the time, you can't really call what a hit record is.
Right.
You have to really put it out there and let the people decide.
But it has to be something that you go by.
I thought, check this out, I thought so.
No? You don't think so today?
Nah, I thought so. I thought it was this whole technical thing and how I got it sound and this, that, and the third. There's plenty of records that became huge records that people didn't think was going to be hit records.
There's no rhyme or reason.
No rhyme or reason.
People just loved it.
People loved it and that was it.
Right.
So we technically going in with this technical sound.
Pulling out statistical data.
Yeah, like,
and all this stuff.
Works and, using 8-bar hooks and, sometimes I get some of these records and they're not 8 bars, they may be a 7-bar to 8-bar. You know what I'm saying? So there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's like I learned, like there is
especially today's music, right?
Right.
Some of the beats and rhythms that you hear today is not from any kind of book theory. Me too. I love the creativity from all the artists, seeing what an artist will do with a beat and where they'll take it and how they express themselves, right? That's the dope part. It's like you said, today you're working with your son. So what is your son, what's happening? He's coming up with music?
So his name is Young Rax. Mm-hmm. And, so it's funny because I'm actually struggling with, because he's up to date.
Okay.
He's naturally good. I'm not saying that because that's my son, but he's been around me like I was around my father for years, and he's naturally good. Mm-hmm. He's been making records since he was like 5 years old. He decided maybe about 6 months ago, this is what I want to do. Kind of the same path I went, same age,
right?
And he has it. So I'm kind of struggling with the thing of what people what they're talking about today. Well, they always been talking about it. It's just that I'm older.
Expressing it today.
Yeah, it's expressing it the same way we did, but it's that I'm older. Mm-hmm. And I'm older now, so I take things a different kind of way. So I gotta some of the stuff that he write. I really pay attention to his lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Right. Some stuff that he write, I be like kind of scringing, but I'm like, yo, listen. Snoop Dogg did it. Ice Cube and them did it, and then they, as you mature and as your world broadens your life, your lyrics. So does your lyrics, so your experiences. So I don't want to limit him. Even though like I'm sitting there like, yo, don't say that. Like then I realize like, if I want a chance to actually work with my son, I gotta let him express himself.
Okay, and see the artist who he is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing, right?
Let him go through whatever he's talking about is what he's experiencing.
Okay.
And and I want him to have that confidence that his father have his back or whatever he's doing. Right. And that even though I'm cringing at some of the things he's saying, I'm like, yo, looking at my son.
But you know where he's coming from with it.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's like, the difference.
He's from the Bronx.
Yes.
So he's talking.
And this is real hip hop up here in the Bronx. So.
Yes.
I'm not saying other boroughs don't.
But he listens to a lot of the cats from Atlanta, like his Atlanta and Young Thug, and like he's listening to these cats, man, and he's very influenced by them. Yeah,
they're pretty good.
But he's lyrical, he's witty what he's doing, so he's kind of combining.
Okay.
Too,
So what's a jewel that you would drop to these new artists coming out that is basically on their own? Not everybody has support. Like, what is maybe some basic tools or jewels that you can drop for a new artist today?
Read. Just read and Google. Mm-hmm. I do it.
So you think everything most of the stuff that you see pertaining to the music industry on the internet is reliable? You find it to be something that they
it depends on what you're looking for. When I say read, I mean like
read different sources and try to come up with.
You look at check out everybody's experience.
Right.
Like I study different artists and not just and I tell my son, you just don't study the artists of today. Mm-hmm. Like I'm studying the artists of today, but I'm still looking at the artists that came before me and the artists and the time that I was in.
Right.
I'm still studying.
Right.
I'm studying you guys right now. So so a lot of young kids, they get stuck on, you know, it's the approach too. Like a lot of older cats look at the younger cats and say, you know, dismiss them, and the younger cats will call somebody an old head quick.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, but see, the thing is, you can't approach these kids like that. You have to respect their space.
Right. The
respect their space.
And it has to go both ways.
Gotta go both ways.
It has to go both ways.
Respect their space. I remember when I was a young kid, my father, like I said, played drums. When drum machines came out, he looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you talking? What are you doing? That ain't how you make a record. You know how I taught you how to make a record. You know you gotta have a drum, you have a bass player, guitar. I'm like, nah, I got a budget. I can't pay all these dudes.
Right.
Guitar.
I can't have a full band in here. I'm gonna pull out this organ. I'm gonna play all these different pieces, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So I come from that. So dealing with my son and dealing with the new music from today, I respect that because I don't, you know, the worst thing is I can have somebody call me an old head. I'm like, I can't stay. I'm very. Another thing I talked to you about too. I'm very, very much against an advocate against the word old school.
Yeah.
I can't stand the word old school.
Yeah.
We the only genre of music that call each other old.
True.
Anything.
True. Every other thing you see classic rock and roll or classic country. You know what I'm saying?
I work with Steven Tyler. He's from Aerosmith. I work with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. These guys are like 70, 80 years old.
Right.
I never once heard anybody, any young kid or any person my age call them old school.
No, they won't. They
won't.
They
or
have
Mick Jagger. I haven't because they respect each other. They don't put time on it. Or even reggae artists. That's what I got. That's where I really got the understanding of that. Somebody that was a reggae artist told me. He said, "Yo, you know what? Reggae artists, they don't ever classify themselves as old school. No. You could be 100 years old and make a record. You're never old school.
Right.
We're the only genre of music, black, hip hop, R&B, and hip hop is the only genre of music that you will see that call themselves old."
That could be a whole hour show right there. That's talking about how when hip hop first started to now, and the way it's being treated on the radio, and that's a whole. But we'll be right back though. We'll come back with some more.
All right.
All right. So music, producing. Now, how did you end up doing fashion? How did that? You always been fly. Let me say that. Every time I see you as dressed, I can't even say it like I'm surprised. But how did you end up working with Andy Hilfiger and so many, other people when it comes to fashion?
Andy Hilfiger, it stems from my music career. I met Andy at it's crazy. I met Andy in 1997. Andy Hilfiger in 1997 at the Warner Brothers after party at the Grammys. Now this was the Grammys in which ODB had on the suit, and he got up there and he said I do this for the kids. Wu-Tang is for the kids. That was that famous rant that he went on. So now, at the time I was signed to Warner Brothers, Paisley Park Music. So I had the relationship at Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers threw the after party for the Grammys that year. My friend Mark Broussard was the president of Quest Records, and Mark and I, and my partner Vo, we were very cool, and we had done Mark a favor, I think, when he was over at RCA, and he said, "Listen, if your name ever come across my desk, anything you guys need, just hit me up." So we go to the after party, and Mark Broussard is at the after party. He said, "Yo, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sit you at the table over here with the Hilfigers." So he sat me at the table with Andy Hilfiger. And from that day, Andy and I we became best friends, and Andy introduced me to his nephew, Michael Frito.
Okay.
And I wound up doing some music for Michael, Vo and I, and my partner Dave. We wrote some songs for Mike Frito, and we wound up getting a deal with Quincy Jones over at Quest Records.
Wow.
And from that point on, Andy and our relationship just it turned from music into we just became great friends, and to the point where when I got turned off from music, I was trying to look for another pivot.
Right.
And I realized that I was just always hungry for knowledge. And I would be around, be around Andy and Tommy when he would be doing their deals.
Right.
And after a while, I just like, I just sat up underneath Andy and I just started learning how to market and how to brand, and how they was creating their fashion pieces. And I think at the time they were shooting a movie called The Faculty,
Okay.
And I think Usher was in it, Aaliyah. They did this whole campaign, the famous Aaliyah shoot, and that was around the time like I met them.
Okay.
And I just stuck him underneath Andy, and he just took me in like a big brother, and just showed me the way, just showed me like a lot of things that you couldn't even learn in college.
That's what I love so much about this business, because there are so many lanes
Right.
that all are connected,
Right.
so to speak. You know,
Right.
you have all these artists, but
Right.
all these looks and these
Right.
trends,
Right.
and everything is starting based on what we're all
Right.
rapping and singing, and how so we don't realize how it's all connected,
Right.
but it's true.
Yeah.
And the loft, I remember I seen
Yeah.
it was beautiful,
Right.
and he had some nice original pieces in
Right.
there, and the clothing line, excellent. The
Right.
quality,
Yeah.
we already know he'll figure.
Yeah, he was.
You know?
So he gave us. So what he did was, for the culture, what Andy contributed to the culture was back in '93. He's the guy, single-handedly. He actually merged fashion and music together when he put the Tommy Hilfiger shirt on Snoop Dogg.
Right.
For Saturday Night Live, and
Right.
when the other designers, big designers they was trying to stay away from the black culture. They didn't want us to wear the clothes.
Mix with hip hop too much.
Andy Hilfiger and Tommy were the ones who embraced it.
Okay.
And very good people. They're from
Trendsetters.
they're from Elmira, New York, and I consider those dudes my big brothers, and they taught and showed me a lot. Mm-hmm. And and from that, after that, I really like from like 2005, 6 on, for like the next 10 years, 10, 11 years after that, I would just stick up underneath Andy, and every deal Andy would do, he would take me along with him. We did a line with he had a line called Andrew Charles with Steven Tyler.
Right, I remember that.
And we did that, and I traveled with him with Steven Tyler. We went all over promoting that. Then we did. He had another line. He did a line with a big line with Adam Levine over at Kmart. Mm-hmm. We did that. We did that together. We did the marketing, and we traveled with that. We did Nicki Minaj. That I did that campaign. Like I was on that campaign.
Wow,
like I did that. I would, that was her line through Kmart, and that was like me at the time. Those years that I spent learning underneath Andy, when I started doing the Nicki Minaj project, I was seasoned at that point.
Right.
And this is when
you was ready for it.
This is when social media and everything. That's when I started to understand what Instagram was about.
Okay.
And how to sell a product on Instagram, and how important a follower is on Instagram from the experience I did with Nicki Minaj. And one of my jobs was to get social media influencers to wear Nicki clothes.
Right.
So
once they wear it.
Right. So
out.
I got a chance to work with Black China, Lala Anthony,
nice,
Paul Johnson, Juju. Mm-hmm. What's the girl?
All popping. What's
the chick that married Safari? Erica Mena.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Erica Mena, Kaylin Garcia. I got a chance to meet these people and realize they all had like 2-3 million followers apiece. And my job was to get the clothes on them so they could repost it.
Right.
And that would bring more buyers to the Kmart brand for Nicki Minaj.
Look what Cardi B did for Fashion Nova.
Right, exactly.
Another thing, she started wearing simple, easy, affordable.
Affordable. That's what it was.
Pieces.
Right.
And that's how I got introduced to Fashion Nova.
Exactly.
Because we do watch the artists that we love.
Right.
And we do with their fashion, their style, we try to mimic it. We not purposely sometimes, but we like things that we end up wanting to have that on us. So
But that was the cool thing. The Nicki Minaj Kmart line was basically like Fashion Nova, because what Nicki did was she would wear a Roberto Cavalli outfit.
and
then she would call Kiki the designer. She called Kiki, look at this print.
Right.
Flip it, the same print.
Right.
And
make it
now what
something
makes
that I would wear.
Yeah,
like
the same kind of way.
Right.
But of course what makes it expensive is the material.
Right.
Or inexpensive.
Right.
So you would have the same look. But the material, Roberto Cavalli material
it would be the same material, but it'd be
the same
type of look.
And I remember doing a photo, we did a photo shoot with Nicki. This is what I learned. I learned from Nicki, what she would do was she said, well, a girl would go into what's one of them stores, Rainbow or Kiss, what's one of Rainbow and
what, Pretty Girl?
Pretty Girl.
Yeah, one of them type.
He would go in there and get a pair of jeans and just throw it on, you know what I'm saying? But their top and their shoes and their bag
is the main
piece.
Yeah.
And that was her model, and that's basically what Fashion Nova wound up doing.
Right.
Nicki did Kmart, and it's basically what she did. she was kind of ahead of her time. With Eddie Lambert and those cats was doing over at Nikki. With Nikki, they were taking the looks, and Nikki would put these looks on, and these girls. I was traveling all over the country, and I was just dressing all kind of people, you know, and we would do fashion shows and Miami, all over the place, you know. So
you got to enjoy a nice stretch in a whole different lane,
the whole
so
other
to
lane,
speak, right?
But it was still music, though.
Right, still involved with music.
It was still music, because it was still music driven.
Right.
My relationships, when I got to the whole fashion game, I started to realize a lot of my music friends were pivoting to other different positions now. Everybody was moving with the change, right? The changes that was occurring. There's
people now let me go over here. Let me go over there.
There's people now I was bumping into that were now into, you know, working over at Mix, working for liquor companies, and that was once working over at Uptown, or Bad Boy, whatever.
Repositioning themselves.
Everybody was pivoting, you know, and that was the game. So, you know, I kind of pivoted at the time where, you know, the music game was this whole shift that we see now in streaming and digital. I could kind of figure it out.
You had to sit back for a minute.
Yeah, I had to sit back
and see what's going on here. Where's this going to fall?
It's going to fall. You know, and I, you know, luckily I had the relationship with, you know, with the Hill Figures, you know, to be able to sit back and learn something else, you know. And
I think it's amazing how through our talk today, things just kind of opened up and fell for you. Like sometimes it was being at the right place at the wrong time. Sometimes it was from something not going through. A door closed and opened up another opportunity. You know what I'm saying?
I always stayed with it. I always stayed with it. I always was like, you know, looking for the next opportunity, and you know, when it was on my grind, I would wake up.
Well, this is not the type of industry where you just sit back and just wait for things. You have to be hungry. You have to be driven.
My mom used to bam on my. When I had my studio in my room next door to my mom, you know, in the room next to her, and you know, she wouldn't see me go out for days. She would bam on the wall, and she was like, "Nobody's gonna discover you in this room. Just sitting in this room.
Get out.
You got to get out here and."
Oh, that's dope.
And, you know, she would say that to me. She would tell me that, like, you got to get out here and let people see you.
Be
see
seen.
what you can do. Be seen. You know, and and in my mind, I'm like, yo, when I feel it's time for me to get out here.
Because sometimes we zone out. Right?
Yeah, I was zoned.
I can see you in there mixing and trying to do whatever. Zoning out and forgetting 2-3 days on went by. You know what I'm saying?
Let me tell you something. This pandemic, that's what sparked our conversation. Was I took it back to that essence of me being in my room. If you look at those pieces, you see me in the studio in my crib. In my crib now. You know, not my mom's crib.
Mom's ain't there.
My crib.
I
have a room that's just my studio, you know, and everything, and I set up the way I want. I just went back to that. I went back to, you know, spending hours and hours, which I haven't done in a very long time. Spent hours just on my music, and I went back to that essence of, you know, what I came from.
But you know what? I think a lot of people may have had that transformation like that and didn't even realize it. I find out people that wrote books years ago or wanted to be an author and write a book is writing it, right? People that wanted to act and script, whatever. Whatever that passion was that people wanted to do, now we got all this spare time to do it. People are actually going for it, you know? I'm thinking about writing scripts and doing my own production. Like, this is, even though it's a bad situation, you know, that we had to go through, but it is sparking things within us that can make some great changes, and we don't have any idea where this is going to lead to.
Like I always say, I use the word pivot. Your pivot game got to be crazy. You got to, you know, one thing don't happen, you got to be able to go over here and make that happen. And originally, when I called you before actually you and I actually spoke, I called you when the pandemic was going down, because I kind of seen where things were going. And I thought about you. I said, you know what? I said, I need to call Deb. Maybe we could do a live. This is before they was doing the.
And we had already been talking about doing something.
I said, I do an IG live because people were sitting at home. Everybody, even including myself. I was looking for something to do. I didn't care what interests me, and I kind of figured if I thought that way, everybody else would. I said, let me give Deb a call. Maybe we can sit down. We can figure out something.
And then I hit you up. I'm like, hold on, what's this you got here on this thing right here? So that's how things fall. You know what I'm saying? And we even talked about how important relationships are. Like, we met over 30 years ago, right? Who would think? I happened to bump into 3-4 years ago. Like, wait a minute, is that Bob? Like, what's going on? So I'm saying, so you never know what brings people back together. I'm hoping today the knowledge that you shared would definitely spark somebody, help somebody else out too.
Definitely.
But the main thing that I get from what we're talking about is one, this new creativity that's being sparked for everybody. But the underlying issue that we kind of talked about upstairs when it came to producing, and it was about the respect for generations and just having respect for each other, period.
Right.
And relationships, right? That was one of the main things, it seems, that kind of helped you to be able to make all those shifts and turns that you made within your relationship, within your career, to say, right?
Totally. It was the relationships. It was like, I have multiple friends that I've known over 30 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The relationships that I accumulated over the years helped me to pivot, from music to fashion, even sports. I have a lot of friends in the sports world because I play sports, college.
Right.
The music world, fashion, entertainment. And the relationships, is very important. And I had to really go out and work for these relationships. I had to really go sit in front of people, actually meet, actually even study even how to do interviews.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, throughout the years, I was just the kind of person that would nurture relationships. Mm-hmm. You and I know each other for 30 years. Mm-hmm. So, it's just how, how it was.
Some people have that naturally.
Yeah.
Some people got to work.
My wife tells me, that's a gift that I have.
Yeah, that's a gift. That's a gift in itself, right?
Yeah,
when you can walk into a room and not see somebody for 40 years and talk to them like you just spoke to them last week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's years of working
right.
on it and being, and making yourself and developing my character.
And understanding the business.
That's
a major part of it. Outside of your skills and your knowledge, that's a major part that
part
people like you and want to work with you.
If you don't know how to go in and represent yourself and greet, you could be the most talented person in the world. And if nobody know you that talented because you don't know how to represent yourself, you just a talented person.
Right, that's it.
The other ingredients that go along with that is major. And I kind of took pride in that and just, and definitely as of late,
right,
really honing in on my relationships and seeing people and being able to communicate with people because we're in a social media era now. Mm-hmm. So it's not like before where I really had to be in your face.
Right. You can still build them, but you're over here, over there, you can still do it.
We over over the internet and stuff like that. So you see, it's different.
Yeah.
I tell my son all the time, it's different. You still have to go out there and shake hands and
you do.
say hello to people and give a person a call. Hey, say what up to them and. You keep it. That keeps any relationship alive. I don't care what it is. Whether it's,
you got to still water the plants for it to grow. You know what I'm saying? You can plant the seeds.
Tell them all the time.
You still got to put that water, that fertilizer, and all that stuff. A little sun, make it grow. Right.
Yeah, you never know when you're gonna have to reach back to somebody and say gonna help you or you have to help them. This, that, and third. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of give and take.
So who do you think is an influential producer today, and why?
Who do I like today?
Besides you. Right, besides you always say yourself, right?
Always.
Right, besides you.
Always. Who do I like? Does it have to be somebody that's known?
No, it could be.
It's a couple cats in Harlem that I'm really feeling.
Mm-hmm.
A couple dudes. This one kid named Fire.
Okay.
Another kid named King Beast. These kids, they have, they have their own sound.
Okay.
And they're just on it, man. They just, they're great writers.
Okay.
Like I told you, my ingredient for artists are definitely like your writing skills. To me, was what impressed me.
Right.
And they also know how to produce. And production is also, people think producing is that you have to do the beat. You have to make the beat.
That's not it?
No, that's not. That's a part of it.
Part of it.
If you want that to be. Okay. Quincy Jones produced all Michael Jackson albums. I don't think he played an instrument on it.
Right.
But he produced it.
True.
What he did was he brought the right
to assemble
exactly.
everything together, right?
Exactly. So don't mean that you actually have to make the beat. That's what you call today beat makers.
Interesting point.
A producer is somebody who actually make the record. You see the record from beginning to the end.
Right.
You make sure the vocal is right. You make sure that mix is right.
Like that Stout guy. What's his name? Kevin. What's his name? Stout.
Steve Stout.
Steve Stout. Like I was just watching his biography the other day.
Right.
And seeing how he just started out with a doop 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 and created some of the biggest mega hits that we heard with Beyonce and everybody else today. Like check that out on Netflix. It's dope. His story.
Yeah. So like like I tell kids, a beat maker is a beat maker. At one time, I was a beat maker.
And now you're a producer.
Yeah, then I evolved into that to understand, when I went in the studio, that my beat was sounding great and the vocals were sounding shitty.
Right.
That's still, you know what I'm saying? I was like, the beat sound good. But you have to, you have
to mix all the elements.
You have to make the record from beginning to end.
Right.
Go in and mix them vocals and make sure the right mix, turn the record in and make sure it's mastered correctly, make sure the sound quality is right. That's producing the record.
A lot of different elements, y'all. I hope y'all taking notes.
So,
any final words you would like to say to anybody that, starting out as a producer or beat maker, or you already said upstairs that knowledge, right?
Study.
Read, right?
Read, study. Yeah.
And go back and look at some of the great producers.
Right.
Whatever field you want, a lane you want to go into, go back a couple of years and look at some other people, some of the trendsetters, some of the ones that started out. And, everybody got a story.
Right.
Look at some other people's stories and get influenced and try to use that knowledge to help yourself as well, right?
Totally. That's it. That's exactly
build good relationships. Be good to people, right? So they'll turn around and look out for you.
Totally, because that's the main. That's what makes it happen. If you have great relationships, you can do anything you want to do.
Right. It's nice when you can pick up that phone and call people. You know what I'm saying? And they answer.
And they pick up the phone.
And they answer. That's a great piece right there.
You're like, all right, just do it.
Right. I'm gonna send them the voicemail. I hit them back later and never call you back. You know. So where can they follow you on social media if they want to work with you?
Just go to. I'm on Instagram, so you can just hit me at Forever Young Quincy.
Forever Young Quincy, okay, yes. On Instagram.
On Instagram, so that's where I am. I think Deb will probably post a couple pieces of me working in my element.
Right.
I took it back
to me.
Yeah, I took it back to my early days in my mom's room. Just as 2020, the pandemic took me back there, and I just was just in my element. I just had to go back there,
Okay.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing, actually. I think we all did some kind of reflection and went back some type of way. So make sure you check him out, support and follow. And you're also going to have some new music coming out with your son very soon. So we're going to be looking forward to that as well.
I'm going to shout my son out, Young Rax. I'm going to shout my wife out, Dr. Zanya Mitchell, my daughter, Indea.
Yes.
And my other son, Zaire.
Okay.
So I gotta, shout this.
Right.
Make sure I shout the family out.
Yes.
Right, so.
And make sure you check out Just Give Me the Mic every Sunday night again at 8 p.m. in Manhattan, 10 p.m. in the Bronx. And subscribe to us on YouTube, y'all. And I'm your girl, Debra Coco. And thank you for watching. And let's all be safe out here.
Definitely.
And see you soon.
Yeah.